All right, welcome back. Let's just get to the conversation right about now. Well, you're still watching VOP this morning right here on Voice of the People television. Straight to the conversation we go. Well, in a response to the growing unrest in the nation, President Bola Tinubu has urged the youth to cancel the planned protest in, of course, August, the first planned protest, assuring them that their grievances are being addressed. Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and Omoyele Sowore, the convener of the hashtag Revolution Now movement, have voiced their support for the protest, affirming the constitutional right to peaceful demonstration. Additionally, Peter Obi, the Labour Party's presidential candidate in the 2023 election, has demanded damages and a public apology from Bayo Ononuga, the special advisor to the president on communication and strategy, for falsely accusing him and his supporters of planning the violence. More, so the Arewa Youth Ambassadors have also declared their support for the hashtag End Bad Governance in Nigeria protest, citing the necessity of addressing the Nigerian government's harmful economic policies. In a statement on July the 23rd, 2024, Comrade Yahaya M. Abdullahi criticized President Bola Tinubu's administration, particularly condemning the recent removal of the fuel subsidy as cruel and irrational. The group emphasized that justice is essential for national stability and condemned the lack of transparency and consensus in the government's decision-making process, which, of course, they argue is worsening the economic crisis. Well, stay with us in the studio this beautiful morning is Mr. Opolua Taiwo, who is the director of the African Bridge Initiative. Now, the president's coming out to apologize and plead for Nigerians to have a little bit of patience with him on this one. What do you think motivated that? That's on one part. Secondly, the president has spoken, understanding the fact that there is a protest, just opposing it with the accusation from his aide, speaking to the person and the supporters of the presidential candidate of Labour Party, I'm talking about Peter Obi, saying that he is part of the people that are financing this protest. How do you just oppose that communication gap? The president on one side is accepting that, look, this protest I know is from the youth, and the youth are the ones that are demanding good governance, not a Peter Obi. How do you just oppose that? Plus, like I asked earlier, what do you think motivated this movement urging the youth to shelve the protest?
Yeah, I know Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, being the president of Nigeria, is a man who supposedly grew up from the trenches. So he's trying to tell you that he's still aware of what happens in the trenches. But based on what is obtainable now, I'm not sure he's aware of what is happening in trenches. Because the trenches are the guys in the trenches, they are dying already.
But that's Esther don't establish.
So I'm not sure he's aware of what is happening in trenches as of today. But for him apologizing to the youth, he's trying to tell them, I'm with you. I was once in the trenches, but unfortunately, I'm no more in the trenches. And maybe I don't know what is happening in trenches, but the only thing I can do is to beg you.
Mr. Boluwa, don't you think that the reason for this call for Nigerians not to protest on the 1st of August is the fact that the sitting administration understands that protests actually work? We could recall that I think in 2014 or thereabout, he also called for the sitting government to leave. And he also championed another protest, that was when he was part of the NADECO. Now, my question is, don't you think that this is actually the president talking because you know how effective protest and the people can actually be?
Well, apparently you're already trying to reiterate what I've said earlier on. He is trying to tell you that he was part of the trenches. Now, then I was in the north when that protest took place in Lagos. And I told some of my colleagues then, while in Abuja, I said, these guys that are protesting in Lagos against President Goodluck Jonathan, I said, they are not telling Nigerians the real truth. I said, but very soon, all of us will see the real truth. Now, the real truth is now obvious.
What's the truth?
What's the truth?
What's the truth?
The truth is that subsidy has always been a scam and will continue to be a scam. And now, and in fact, it's now becoming an unnecessary evil in the system. 50% of the gladiators does not want the subsidy. Not because they like you, but because they are not in power. 50% also want the subsidy because they are still in power and they are benefiting from that subsidy. So you can see that whichever way you go around subsidy isn't going to benefit an average Nigerian. That is one thing we must get clearly, because the undertone of subsidy itself is meant to what? To protect the interests of the few, whether there's subsidy or there's no subsidy. The whole conversation around subsidy is meant to protect the cabal. If you remove subsidy, do you know what will happen? The guys who are benefiting from the subsidy, they went what? To shortchange the market. That is the challenge Dangote is having. And I was very happy when I read online that it's possible that Dangote might be one of the people that will be leading this very particular protest. Because the man was almost gone into tears. That is just 3 years into 70 years. He can't be deceiving Nigerians or deceiving himself at this age. You understand that a lot of sabotage in the economy.
That is actually part of our conversation for the second set. So we actually...
The conversation of Dangote, we can look at that from different perspectives. Yeah. But let's talk about the call for the August 1st protest. The president talking to Nigerians through the Minister of Information. Don't you think at this time it would have been better for Nigerians to hear from Mr. President himself as against hearing from Mohammed Idris, Minister of Information?
Now, when we talk about
because we've also been told that the president is being shielded away from the reality. So do you think he's really aware?
The president is not shielded from the reality. And he is aware of what is happening. The presidency has protocol. And for me, truly, if you ask me, I will not urge the president to come out immediately to speak, because there's a lot of fire in the atmosphere already.
And you don't think that will douse it?
No, it will not. It will not. What can only douse the tension now is reality. Reality. Bring out the reality of the economic what? Palliatives.
So in other words,
not individual palliative. They bring out the reality of what? Economic palliative.
So in other words, now you have the opinion that even if the president come up to address or not to address,
it will not change anything.
Okay. Today there will be an emergency meeting. Stakeholders, major stakeholders will be addressing. They will be meeting to find a solution to prevent the August 1st protest. What do you foresee them discussing during that meeting? What are the things you think they will have to address?
Now, before I look at what they will,
National Assembly,
what I'm foreseeing, don't forget what I said. Was it not 2-3 weeks ago that NLC has lost the protest, and the real protest is coming from the people? Sure, you can.
We'll come back to that protest coming from the people.
You remember I said that statement clearly.
Yes, I recall.
And I said that, I don't know when I became an economic prophet in Nigeria. I said it clearly that the protest is now out of the NLC. The protest now belongs to the people. All right. So, for this particular urgent or emergency meeting that's going to take place, I'm sure they'll be looking at what are the rollout CNG in terms of reducing transportation costs on the people. I'm sure they'll be looking at how do we reduce the price of PMS.
Okay.
That is if they are wise enough in that line. I'm sure they will be looking at what will be happening to the agri sector. Because any emergency meeting now at the presidency without looking at the agri sector is going nowhere. Because the real anger is coming from the hunger. The real anger is not even coming from PMS. The real anger is coming from hunger.
All right then. Okay, let's get our virtual guest into the conversation. We're being joined by John Akirile, who's a journalist. Prince Chilaka. Okay. Well, I guess John will join us for the other conversation. So we're being joined right now by Prince Francis Chilaka, who is, of course, a political analyst. Good morning to you, Prince.
How are you?
Very well. Welcome to the conversation. Now, I was just speaking with our studio guest, talking about the emergency meeting that has been called today to nip in the bud the proposed protest for August 1. And I was just asking the guest, let me ask you the same question. What do you think will be the major point for discussion? And would this stitch at this time save 9 or save the 1st of August, as the case may be? Are we having a glitch in the network? Because we can't seem to hear Prince Francis Chilaka. You might need to unmute if you have clicked on the mute button so we can hear you clearly. Are you with us, Prince Francis?
Yes, I am.
All right. If you heard the question, please go ahead.
So can you take that again?
All right. I was just asking the question. There's been an emergency meeting called by the National Assembly and other stakeholders, and it's to address the purported August 1st protest that Nigerians, some Nigerians, have called for. What do you think will be the major points for discussion? And the calling for an emergency meeting at this time, you know they say a stitch in time saves 9. A calling for an emergency meeting at this time, will it save the 1st of August?
Well, you see, the problem is that this government is being reactive rather than being proactive. People have been calling for a long time. People have been saying that things are difficult, times are hard, and Nigerians have been complaining and complaining and complaining, and the government has consistently been doing the wrong thing. You know, today we say, we started with subsidy is gone, and while Nigerians were still trying to grapple that, you now came up with bandwagon, ban that, ban whatever, you know. So it's like the government has consistently been taking advantage of the Nigerian people, and the Nigerian people are tired of being taken advantage by their leaders. So as far as I'm concerned, whatever meeting they are calling today will not solve the problem. It will not reduce the cost of fuel in the market. It will not reduce the cost of gari and rice in the market. So the government, would just be doing what they're good at doing, which is hold meetings.
Allow me butt in at this point. May I interrupt?
Sorry?
May I interrupt you at this point? The government have said that now they want to ensure that the palliatives provided so far get to those that need it, as against giving it to governors and senators, but get to those that need it. If they do that, if they ensure that those that are in need of these palliatives receive the palliatives, don't you think that will douse the tension?
Well, who needs palliative in this country? Why is it that the media keeps promoting this news and called palliative? Why is the media so happy about it? We shouldn't be talking about palliative in a country that has abundant mineral resources. So palliative is like you're rubbing salt in an injury. You're telling the Nigerian people to go to hell. We need to stop this whole language of palliative. Nigerians are not beggars. Nigerians are asking their government create a conducive environment for people to work. Create a conducive environment for businesses to thrive. That is what Nigerians are asking for. Nigerians are asking for good governance. Be accountable to the Nigerian people. Be transparent to the Nigerian people. But what have this government been doing? You've been spending the Nigerian money on frivolities, taking care of yourselves, forgetting that sovereignty belongs to the people. So for me, I'm not one of those who will be carried away with whatever the government is throwing at the people today or tomorrow or next tomorrow. No, what we want is the government to sit back and change every wrong policy they have made so that it will affect positively on the lives of the Nigerian people.
Talking about the government now, I would like to get the conversation to Mr. John Akerele. Good morning, Mr. John. Good to have you into the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, now we're talking about the president calling on Nigerians to, calm down over the proposed August 1 protest. We have the likes of the Abayo Ononuga also pointing people or calling out Nigerians to be the people who are actually supporting or even planning a protest against this administration. Is it that this administration actually don't really know what Nigerians are passing through, or is it that they're trying their best to shy away from it?
All right. Thank you for having me. Good morning to Nigerians all over the globe, and good morning to you guys in the studio, most especially Moses. It's been a long time. Now, this is it. Let me start on the note of your line of thought of Bayo Ononuga. And let me remind Bayo Ononuga himself that in 2012, what was his own stand? Maybe I should remind Bayo Ononuga, with utmost respect, that there was a protest song in 2012 that he said people should sing. That was during the era of Jonathan. So if Bayo Ononuga in 2012 can tell people to sing a song of protest, and the same Bayo Ononuga in 2024 is saying no to protest, that is the hypocrisy of the highest order.
It's interesting. I'm gonna stay with you, Mr. John. It's interesting you mentioned this, and it's said that karma serves the way it's been served. Is this karma coming to this administration, who we would recall was more so heavy when it comes to protesting, just like you mentioned? But then again, the presidency before now did mention that they will be rolling out CNG buses, which was one of the reasons why they felt the subsidies gone statement can be cushioned. Up till now, Nigerians are still waiting for that particular promise. And yet, prices of goods are skyrocketing. High rate inflation is on the high in Nigeria. Farmers cannot go to farm. And the people are clamoring for good governance. Again, my question would be, what do you think motivated the presidency to come out yesterday to say Nigerian youth should give him time at this point? Is he just facing the reality, or is this some political statement like we naturally would have from political office holders like this?
Thank you so much, my brother. Please, for all of my other panelists on this call, if you're not speaking, it would be nice for you to mute your mic so that we don't have, glitches and noises at the background, so that we can have a smooth and a good conversation to all of ourselves here on this platform and to people who are watching us all over the globe. That being said, let me continue on my line of thought. All right? I said to you, Bayo Ononuga in 2012, sang a song of protest and pushed people to sing. My own president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also protested. And so it is sad for me personally that I have a president who protested. Occupy Nigeria. Alright? I have religious leaders, Baba Gio, protested, walked the streets of Lagos and Abuja. Why? Because they felt the hardship in the land. But it is not a shame that people who protested in 2012 are now the ones saying, let's pray, let's not protest, let's dialogue. It means that this administration knows one thing. If they have said to you, according to your prologue, that the palliative will get to the right people, so they know that the palliative is not even going down to the right people in the first place. That's an indictment on them. And I put it to them. Those who you get palliative to and didn't get to the right people, what have been done to those people? Absolutely nothing. That is negligence on the part of this present administration. It's only in Nigeria when you steal 5 naira, they put tire around your neck. But if you steal billions, they do actually for you. And so the point of the matter is simple and straightforward. All indexes and parameters, you're a journalist, go and check, compare your past and the present, and tell me if it's working. I don't need to come and talk to anybody or comment to anybody here. My own is do before and after. Your before and after, is it making sense to you? The answer is no. The second thing is that since you know that we are broke, economy is not going the way it should go, and we see largesse, we see luxurious lifestyle from our political class day in and day out. You tell us there's no money. Want to do educational reform? There's no money. Our university funding, there's no money. Educational trust fund, there's no money. Good health care, there's no money. Create jobs and build factories, there's no money. But there's money for frivolities. There's money for salaries that is not even making sense to anybody in the world. A senator was telling you that they are buying this kind of car because they are bad roads. Is that not an indictment on the Senate as a whole? That they are instead of been existing for how many years and we still have bad roads in Nigeria. Then what bill have you been passing all along all these years? So these are questions that everybody must ask themselves. They say they don't want protest. Why? They know what protest will do. And every leader in Nigeria is scared of protest. Shout out to Ali Ndume, who saw it and said, this is my take. He vindicated himself before the message will come against everybody. And so the point of it is, let's ask ourselves what people are saying. Bad governance. Indeed, do we have bad governance? Let them answer. Two, the living cost of people. Is it something that is conducive for them? Let them answer. The third question, the state of the economy. Is it growing? Let them answer. What is the rate of inflation? Are we where we used to be or we've gone higher? Let them answer. Our debt profile, when this organization came into governance, how much was our debt profile? How much is it now? Let them answer. Now, let's look at how much the debt was, how much the debt is, and let's look at the growth that we have seen in terms of infrastructure and everything. Does it match? Let them answer. So these are the questions that people are asking. And even if administration to answer these questions, they are pointing fingers at who are those instigating protests. Then let me ask you a question, last question. When you go to the street of my 12 market and you want to buy a tuber of yam, is it me that increase the price of tuber of yam? You want to buy your fish at a local market, is it me that increase the price? And so it means that this thing is called number 14, Moses. The number 14 in what? Is general market. So it gets everybody general market. Now, even if the lowest of the low is complaining, however, don't go to there's also starting foul now. That's to tell you there's general market for everybody. And these are parameters and indicators that the government have failed because they have shown you empirical evidence of a failing state. And so when people like us come and tell you this is not working, we are not partisans. We are telling you the real truth of what is happening. And so everybody needs to come back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, where and when did we get it wrong?
All right, let's
How can we make
thank
it
you very
better?
much.
And what can we do?
All right, thank you very much, John Akele. You had to take us to the game, what? General market. Well, it's a general market for everybody, but the money we take to the market, the monopoly now comes to play. What we take to the market differs, you know. So those that have a bulk sum will not price. They just say, "Oh, just give me." And then those of us that are within the minimum wage conversation will go and fight with. But I particularly like what the Oni of Ife did. I don't know if you're aware. He gave a law that whoever increases, he abolished the market. Yes, that's the and then said whoever increases price beyond, for example, price of pepper beyond 200 naira will be banished from the land. That's some sort of market control, don't you think? Will government think of a way of doing that? We have FCCPC. Will they think of regulating prices as a way of controlling the price of things in the market? Do you think that can be done?
Yeah, when we talk about price control, for me, I'm one of the people that are always a proponent of that market or price regulation. But apparently, Nigeria is becoming too volatile for that particular conversation. But we can still go in a sector by sector price control.
Okay.
All right. So if we can do holistic price control, we can do sectorial what? Price control. All right. So what do I mean by that? you can still control the agri sector. You might not be able to control maybe the other sector. You might not be able to control the health sector. But at least you can still control the agri sector. And how can you control the agri sector? Do you have enough bids for the guys in the agri sector?
Okay, as it is now in Nigeria,
right.
How can government control prices in the agri sector?
Now, you want to control price. The first thing you should look at, what's the percentage of tax you are getting from that sector? Can we reduce the percent?
I hope, Mr. Oluwa, you are aware that the government actually, people who are farmers in Nigeria, run their farming business solely on their own. I hope you know that the government actually is not really doing anything to make sure these people are being empowered for them now to wake up to say we are striking a price control.
Now, that's part of what I'm saying. Now, they have... Now, when we talk about... Another thing must not be too sentimental about. When somebody tells you that he's running a farming, commercial farming in Nigeria, and he says he's running solely on his own, it's actually not true. Okay. I can say that confidently, it's not true. Okay. You can't do that successfully on your own. You still need the input of the government. All right?
Okay.
You need a good atmosphere.
Particularly when it comes to
you need fertilizer. You also need funding. All right? Because tractors, the kind of machinery you needed for that business, it's not a joke.
Okay.
So we should not be too sentimental in that line. When you talk about commercial farming in Nigeria, you can't do it without government. I can say that anyway, except if you're having FDI. If you're not having FDI, you can't do it without government. So beyond that, if we have some bids for the guys in the agri sector, a controllable bid, not a frivolous bid. Now, what do you mean by controllable bid? That is a bid that can be regulated, that you can pursue, that I have 10 guys in the Farmers Association of Nigeria, and I'm giving them, and they get from them, I'm getting 1 billion every 6 months in terms of tax. Now, give my citizen, give them bag of rice, 20,000 naira, then I'll reduce your annual tax from that sector into 200 million instead of 1 billion.
Okay.
Do you have an agreement? They say, yes, we have an agreement. Then we sign an agreement. From that particular point, the following months, each of the guys in that sector, the remittance will be adjusted on the tax. So you can see that the ownership starts from the government.
Okay, all right.
So that control can be realistic. So it can be. So we need a what? A regulated
system.
Price.
All right, then quickly, let me come to Prince Francis Chilaka now. Let me just throw this question. Mr. Bayo Ononuga, who is the president's media aid and strategy.
Yes, communication
and strategy.
Yeah.
My focus is on the strategy aspect. He has put out some allegations against the person of Professor Patutomi, the person of Mr. Peter Obi. Now, they have responded by threatening to sue him. Peter Obi has said that he was going to sue him for 5 billion naira. Professor Patutomi has said he was going to sue him for 500 billion naira for, saying that they are the organizers of the August 1st protest. And Mr. Bayo Ononuga has said, look, send your letters in. Let your lawyers come. Is there something he knows that we don't know? Because these individuals have come in the public to say they know nothing about the strike, but he seems to be, holding on tightly to his guns. Prince? Please unmute your microphone so we can hear you clearly. All right, Prince Francis, we still cannot hear you. You might need to help us again with unmuting your microphone so we can hear you. Okay, unfortunately, we can't hear you. Let me throw this question now. I hope you heard the question. Okay, if you heard, go. If we can hear you now, go ahead.
There's something with political leaders, and there's something with those that get appointed by either the governors or the ministers to speak for them. You would not expect someone like Ononuga, who is so full of himself, who is very arrogant, to admit that he has faulted. Don't forget, he's not speaking for himself. He is speaking for the government
Right.
And so you know that government never takes responsibility for any action. Government thrives on denial. That's the truth. Everything about government is to deny. And it is now the duty of the press to prove them wrong. So what he's doing is what is expected of him. You can't get any other thing from him. But you see, I would say this, that when the likes of Onanuga is talking, we all know the role he has played in protests in this country.
Oh, I guess we're having a
All right,
glitch
we're having
over
a
there.
glitch there. We're having a glitch there. Quite unfortunate. John, please, if you can hear us, chime into this conversation right now. Okay. Oh, well. We hear that there's a problem with the network there. Now, let's come back to you in the studio now. Is there something that he knows that we don't know? He seems very braggadocious about this.
So, apparently, Bayo Onanuga as supposed to be an elder statesman, in quote, is becoming the special advisor to Mr. President on
Communication
communication
strategy.
No, I'm not going that way. It's actually the special advisor on communication and controversy. He's a man of controversy, and he enjoys.
So is this the style of accusing people, the style of always calling Peter Obi and accusing him? Is that a strategy that this administration is using, especially right now, to douse involvement in the protest?
Like I said, I don't know why you guys are putting that word strategy. It's actually a special advisor on communication controversy. Because when you talk about communication strategy, we are talking about having a concrete and a facts and evidence-based analysis.
Well, his portfolio,
yes,
as given by the president, does not involve. It's stated communication and strategy, not controversy.
When it's a communication and strategy, and the only strategy we can see from him is always against the opposition party. Now the question is, when you are in power, what is your target? Your target, number one, is the people that elected you. Number two, your target is what? The economy. So when you are in government and your target is your opposition, then you have already becoming an opposition within a ruling party. So the man is creating opposition within the ruling party. He's creating opposition he's creating more opposition for his party. What does he supposed to do? Is to understand and tell Nigerians that we are aware. And what he's supposed to do is what President Tinubu himself is doing directly, saying that he's aware of the pain of the people. You are supposed to create that guideline for people to understand that truly we are aware, but the government is doing what? A, B, and C. But if in the next 6 months,
well, that's what the Minister of Information just did. They seem to be having conflicting roles now.
There will be conflicting roles when you don't know your onions and when you don't know your job as a ruling party. There's going to be, he's actually working. It's like he has forgotten that he has left that gown of protest, that gown of opposition. So, Bayo Onanuga is still living in the era of opposition.
I guess that's probably what.
That's it. Challenge is having. He has failed to marry himself or to metamorphose himself or to transform himself from being an opposition to what? To being a member of what? Of a ruling class.
Now, Prince Chilaka,
he may want to continue with his thoughts
Yes.
now. Unfortunately, Prince, we lost communication with you at that point. You can continue with your line of thoughts, and then my colleague will ask her question as well.
No, I think I'm done with what. Maybe you didn't hear what I said. What I said is that.
Actually.
Okay, what I was saying is the fact that people like Onanuga has failed to understand that Nigeria has moved forward. Nigeria has moved beyond where you gag people, you cage people, and you want people to take everything you are throwing out to them.
But
the younger generation of Nigerians
that is talking about this protest. Right. We also have Sheikh Ahmed Gumi. He said that if Nigerians should go on with this protest, it is going to lead to anarchy. And Sheikh Gumi, we know, happens to be the intermediary between federal government and the bandits. Prince Chilaka, do you also share that line of thought that if we go for the 1st of August protest, anarchy actually will be what we'll have in Nigeria?
Well, the anarchy you will have is if government decides to infiltrate the protests. If government decides to roll out their dogs like they did during the elections.
During the SUVs, we saw SUVs coming out, and then people actually coming out of the SUV to attack some people. Also, we saw that play out in some areas.
See, this is what I would advise government to do. It's a simple thing. We all saw the role Jonathan played when there was a protest against him, and that protest was also led by this our president. You know, I'm surprised that the likes of Wole Soyinka is not saying anything. That the GO is not saying, the GO of Redeemed Church is not saying anything. So it simply shows that somehow there's complicity. You know, everybody's gone quiet. There are no more elders in the land. The elders are sleeping. The same elders who prepared coffin and carried it to Ojota, they have all gone to sleep. And you notice one thing with Jonathan. He never rolled out the army. He never rolled out the police against the protesters. He allowed them to express themselves. So I think, and I want this president who we are all saying that, work for democracy, that he fought the military dictatorship and brought democracy to Nigeria. I want to see how he handles this. I want to see how democratic President Bola Tinubu really is.
Thank you, Mr. John. And quickly, as we wrap up this particular conversation, the government at this point and Nigeria as a whole is currently owing the World Bank about 123 trillion naira. And as it stands, this protest is based on good governance. That's what the youths are demanding for. In your words, do you think both the voices of Omoyele Sowore and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, do you think with all of this, this protest would hold enough waters to help change the situation of Nigerian governance?
Now, let me say it from this angle. I don't want to see it from the angle of protesting now. I want to see it from a different angle. And these are questions that I should ask you. Nigeria of today, does it look to you like a country that such amount of funds we are owing IMF has injected into? What can you point to today that I can say the amount we are owing presently, this is what we have done? And that points to one fact, and that is the fact
there's no transparency.
All right, we understand that he's causing an interference there.
Yeah.
But we'll just wait a little bit so you can sort that out and continue with your line of thoughts. John Akirile, if you... Yes, go ahead, please.
There's no transparency on the part of the government. Now, and that does not only affect the presidency, mostly from the state to the local government, there's no transparency. So let me ask you, in your own local government where you live, how much is the budget of the local government? What are the prayers that they are doing? What are the ongoing projects in your local government? What are the completed projects? You don't know. Why? Because the government at the local level is not transparent to the citizens. And where did they learn that from? They learned that from their state governors. Where did their state governors learn that from? They learned that from the president. So you are seeing a replica of the presidency at the state level and local government, the act of not being transparent. That's one. Two is accountability. Moses, you get to hear that your senator is getting this amount of money for constituency allowance, constituency projects. Ask those ones that have been in the House of Senate for 20 years. Point to projects that you have done for the past 20 years that would amount to the amount of money that have been given to you for 20 years. None of them would escape it. No, not even one.
All right, then.
That will tell you that we have a systemic error that needs to be corrected. So for me as a young person, for me as a Nigerian, what I would have clamored for more, Moses, will be this. And is that we should push Occupy National Assembly and make sure that our electoral reforms are enacted. 1. Electronic transmission of results is a must. 2. Independent candidacy should be a must. And that is how we get to see that we are breaking down the structures of criminality that have been erected over 60 years.
All right.
And that is where we can know and we can elect leaders based on individuality and not run on any of the so-called platforms called political parties.
Right.
That is where you know that your vote can count and that through a free, fair, transparent, credible, and peaceful election.
All right, then.
Right people come into governance.
Thank you very much, John.
Nigeria.
Thank you very much. So it's not just about the conversation of wait till 2027 now.
Right.
Laws should be put in place right now that will enable participation in 2027. All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Well, we'd like you to stay with us as we get into another conversation. Oil industry NNPC CEO Miller Kyari challenges Aliko Dangote to name government workers behind blending plant in Malta. The back and forth. Let's talk about this one when we come back from this break.